Hi, everyone. This is Willie Crawford, and I'd like to welcome you to the podcast today. As you could probably tell, we're looking at my notes because I don't like trusting my memory that much. But anyway, today I've got a special guest. He's an inspiration to me, and also he is going to answer a lot of questions that I have, and I'm sure that you have too. So let me tell you a little about him. His name is Steve Haas, and Steve's life has been an adventure filled with challenges, growth, and some incredible opportunities. He started his career in the U.S. Coast Guard from 1974 to 1980. It was an incredible experience that taught him discipline and teamwork. After his service, he transitioned to being an EMT, paramedic, and a police officer from 1980 to 1995, where he dedicated himself to helping others in critical moments. In 1995, he ventured into the IT world and became an IT professional and online entrepreneur. Back in the mid 1990s, he ran a computer service center and sold computers and components online. This was his first step into the online business world. However, life threw him a curveball when he went through a divorce. As part of the process, he had to sell his business and step into the corporate IT world. He worked hard and did well until the mid 2000s when another set of challenges came his way. The Great Recession hit in 2010, and he found himself unemployed, out of savings, and struggling with debt. He even faced the terrifying prospect of hopelessness. But in the darkest moment, he didn't give up. With a little faith and a lot of perseverance, he found his way back. And opportunity came through with a connection with an internet marketer he'd been following, not me. He started by providing tech support for a product launch and did so well that it opened new doors. Eventually, he managed a tech support team and even co launched an SEO, software as a service platform, that became a success. From there, he discovered his passion for creating and launching products. He became an affiliate marketer and consistently ranked in the top 10 on leaderboards, but not everything was smooth sailing. He encountered challenges with email marketing platforms, rejecting his business model, which led him to a pivotal realization. He needed to create his own solution. Using his background in IT, he built his own email servers and developed email marketing software. He began helping others in the same situation, and in 2018, SMTP Depot was born. Today, SMTP Depot is a thriving business that provides email marketing services to a diverse range of clients, including digital marketers, real estate agents, publishers, entertainers, and more. Life has taught him resilience and adaptability. He turned challenges into opportunities and found ways to grow even when the odds seemed stacked against him. Now he's passionate about helping others succeed, whether it's through email marketing or sharing the lessons he's learned along the way. Steve, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Willie. Appreciate that build up. That was really nice. Thank you.
Well, your story reminds me a lot of myself, including the challenges that you mentioned with email marketing, which is why I wanted to do this interview with you. Because as you remember, I brought up the topic of some autoresponder providers changing their rules recently, and they were severely restricting the number of emails we could send. And people like me
Right.
who have a database of in the hundreds of thousands. Well, this can't work. Not only that, but email marketers, as of recent years, have been taught to email frequently because when you don't email frequently, your subscribers tend to forget about you. So I know people who email every day, and so being restricted to the number of total emails we can send out was not going to work for a lot of us. So I wanted to have you on today to discuss, the alternatives that we have basically. Um, and
Right.
I did glance at your site, SMTP Depot, and I came up with a number of questions. Um,
Sure.
on the site, it says that SMTP Depot is a leading provider of bulk email services. It says you provide all the tools you need to send emails to your prospects and customers, and that your service includes autoresponder services, SMTP relays, and dedicated bulk email servers. So, and it also said promote your product or service at SMTP Depot, uh, where you're about freedom, that we can import unlimited contacts, send cold or warm email. You have high deliverability and no long-term commitment, cancel anytime. I liked all of it. I mean, that sounded perfect for what I need. I still had questions though about what some of the terminology means. So if we could begin there,
Sure.
it'll probably clear up some of the confusion. Uh, what's the difference between an autoresponder service and uh, some of the other services you offer?
Well, some of the other options are they all go hand in glove. What we provide is the infrastructure. Like for example, you're familiar obviously with Aweber and all these other,
I Weber, Get Response,
yeah,
Infusion.
correct.
Yeah.
All these big brands that are out there, and at the heart of them all is SMTPs. Okay, and SMTP is a think of it as the engine of your car. Without
Okay.
it, you can't go anywhere. So the platform that you see and that you use and so forth is sort of like the exterior of your car. And the
Okay.
SMTP is the engine that runs the car. So without it, you're not going to be able to deliver emails. And this is where the rubber meets the road. And that's what we do is we provide the infrastructure. Now we also have platforms as well, but our focus has been on getting the infrastructure right. And as some of
Okay.
you may recall, there was a recent, like I believe it was last February, when Microsoft, Google, and a few of the others got together and said, okay, these are the requirements for you to be able to inbox. And so they laid it out there. Well, we were already ahead of the curve. We've been doing this for years. So when you get when you're with our services, you get all of that built in. So I know a lot of people have had questions about that and how it impacts them and how it impacts us and so forth. We've been compliant long before Google and Microsoft and so forth jumped into the pile. So
Yeah, I remember that quite well because Weber, for example, threw up a warning that said you need to uh, have the proper settings in your account for all your domain accounts for proper
correct.
STP or what is it, DKIM and
Right.
uh,
DKIM, SPF, DMARC,
remark.
and reverse DNS. Those are the four biggies that you have to have correct. If those aren't correct in your DNS settings, then your emails will probably never even leave the dock. But if they do, they probably will go straight to spam or bounce.
And every autoresponder service seems to have a slightly different way of setting that up too. So
Right.
yeah, and so it was confusing, but so you're when you
Our
set
team does
somebody
that
up,
for you. That's the good thing is that all you have to do is share with us. Like when you come on board with us and you say, okay, I'm going to use mycooldomain.com. All you have to do is share that temporarily share the access to it. We do all the setup for you, so you don't have to worry about the complicated back end stuff and getting it right. We get it set up, we get it right for you, and then you can either leave us with access in case there's a problem down the road, or you can revoke the access and we just request it if there's a problem down the road. We need help to get into it again. So
yeah,
that's
and I several times went into my account and tried to make sure that I had set the proper records up, and it was slightly confusing to me. I even though I once owned a web hosting company and I do a little coding and stuff like that, it still confused me. And then when some things didn't work out right, I just scratched my head. So it's good that you guys, set all that up for us.
right.
Um, so you use the term front end interface too. That's is that like the
That's the actual the email platform that you see. So, where what most people call an autoresponder is the email marketing platform. To be
okay?
technical and be precise, that's what it is. And then you have the SMTP under the hood. The email marketing platform is the front end. So that's what you use. That's what you interface with most often. Now we can provide you with one or you can use your own. So, for example, let's say that you got a WordPress plugin that you use for sending out newsletters, or
Yeah.
you're with a different service because there's other products out there like Syndio and some of these others where you have the front end, but then you have to have a service such as SendGrid, Mailgun, and so forth on the back end to be able to use it. So that's what we do is we provide that. So if you're already with a service, say, for example, like I said, Syndio, or you have Atomic Mail Sender or some of these other applications to send emails through, but you need an SMTP provider, we can do that for you as well.
Where does Amazon fit into this? They offer a
They're the
service
same
too.
thing. They offer it, but the thing with Amazon is, and I I can speak from real experience here, is
Okay.
Amazon is really picky about who they let use their service. They'll let anybody sign up. They monitor you very closely at first. Then they'll increase it because they'll only give you very limited service in the beginning just to monitor your sending habits. Then you can request an increase. They'll give you the increase. And then if you get any complaints or anything at all, they shut you down immediately. No warning, no nothing. You can appeal it all you want. They'll never let you back in. So
I-
they're
I've been on
they're
been on
really
hosts
picky
before
about it.
that wouldn't even give you a warning. They would just shut you down, you know. Yeah.
Many of them have become that way now, and I understand why. And that's why we do things a little differently. Because when you have all the major autoresponders, like I said, like AWeber and Get Response and all of these others, their infrastructure is the goose that lays the golden eggs. So if they get somebody that's in there and they're sending cold emails to a list that they purchased or something like this, well, they're not going to get the engagement, and that's going to cause them to take a reputation hit on those servers that they're sending from. They have different pools of IPs that they put you on. And
Right.
the way it starts out is you're put into a pool of okay IPs so they can monitor your sending habits. So they'll see if you're getting decent, and each one has their own set of analytics that they look
Criteria.
for. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they look for certain things like the opens, the click throughs, the engagement with conversations going back and forth, and things like this. This is what they actually grade you on. So if you don't
Uh,
have really good open rates and good click through rates and things like that, then they put you in the pool that they consider high risk, and you're going to find that the delivery is not as good. A lot of people aren't going to see your emails. A lot of people are going to say, "Oh, I found it in spam," or they found it in some other folder in like Gmail or whatnot. And that's the reason why is you have to have really good uh, open and click rates. If you don't, then like I said, you get put into this pool, and if you get complaints, they drop you like a bad habit in no time. They don't even
okay.
warn you anymore. That's why you see that like just recently with AWeber that they've cut down the number of emails you could send and all this other stuff. That's the reason why. Is they're protecting their email servers' reputations. Now, what we do is
Okay.
different. We basically treat you like an adult. They treat you like a child. We treat you like an adult. We say, okay, we give you your own IPs. They're dedicated to you. Nobody else is sharing them, which is the opposite of what they do. So that's why they're so paranoid, is because you're sharing those IPs with other people. We give you your own IPs. So you're the responsible party. We count on you to be responsible. So when you get an SMTP server or a relay or whatever from us, those are your IPs. Those are your domain and everything else. So it's up to you. It's just like you as a human being. You have a reputation, whether you know it or not. You walk down the street, people size you up. They think about,
Yeah.
is this guy a good guy? Is he a bad guy? All these kinds of things. Well, the same thing goes with email. People don't realize that, but you're being sized up constantly by the mailbox providers, by Google, Yahoo, so forth. They're all
So,
sizing you up. They're all grading you on how often do you email, how much email volume are you sending, are you getting good open rates, are you getting bounces? All of these things are important, and like I said, they grade you on that, and based on the way your email performs, determines where you're going to land. Are you going to go in the inbox? Are you going to go to spam? Are you going to get blocked at the gateway? They won't even let you in. So
hmm,
it's kind of like, think about the old days when you used to go out and maybe went to some clubs and nightclubs and stuff like this. If you were dressed right, you acted right, you look like you were going to do the right things, they let you in the
yeah.
club. You look like a scumbag, and they didn't like the way you looked, they didn't like the way you smelled, or the way you behaved, they kick you to the curb. Well, it's kind of how it works in email marketing right now.
Both the sending platform and the receiving platforms, they both measure stuff. I don't. I mean, I noticed Gmail will every now and then pop up a message saying you haven't opened an email from this person in 3 months or whatever. Do you still want to
Right.
stay subscribed? And AWeber, uh, every now and then it'll pop up an email saying you need a higher open rate. So they're both
Right.
measuring it. Okay.
Correct. You're constantly being, like I said, you're constantly being scrutinized when you're emailing. With us, we don't do that. We don't mind your business for you. We trust that you're going to be a responsible person. But if you're not, you're isolated from everyone else. So you can't hurt anybody else's email marketing. So, for example, let's say you and I are on my customer, and you have great email open rates. You have great responses with your audience and so forth. But I'm some guy that's buying a list from somebody, or I'm scraping a list off the internet or whatever, and I'm sending emails and they're bouncing and people are complaining and all this other stuff. Well, my delivery is going to be terrible. Your delivery is going to be great. And that way we're isolated from each other. So up front, that costs me a little more money to have to provide the dedicated
IP
IPs and so
addresses.
forth.
Yeah.
But on the flip side, I don't have to babysit you because your reputation is yours. So you're free to do whatever you want. That's why we say you're free to do whatever you want, as long as it's legal, of course. We don't want you spamming. We don't want, any kind of stuff like child pornography or, threatening or people sending malware or anything like that. But other than that, you're free to do whatever you want as long as it's legal.
So
And
as long as it's legal, what about like the adult industry?
you can do that too. Just don't send anything graphic.
Oh,
You
okay.
could, I mean, you could say that, you can send them links to a website or whatever, but nothing graphic, because if it's super graphic, now, I mean, it can be a little risque, but not graphic.
Okay.
PG-13 is okay, but anything above PG-13, we're going to have a talk.
Not that I'm in that industry. I know people in the industry.
Me too. I actually have clients that are in the industry, but
Okay.
that's one of the things that, and usually we'll have a conversation prior to them signing up, just so that they understand what the limitations are. And those are the
Okay.
limitations.
So getting back to the different options, I looked at the options available and I asked myself, do I need an STP server or do I need the autoresponder? What do I need? And my database is several 100,000, but and I noticed you had some packages that said if you got 10,000 or less list members, you got one price, and up to 20,000 is another price. That's for the autoresponder services, basically.
That's for the SMTP relay services. Those are the
Okay.
relays. And as a matter of fact, we're going to give everybody a link to your page after
Okay.
we get started here that addresses all of that. But you have the SMTP relays. What those are for people that are usually lower volume, don't send a lot of emails, don't have large lists, and so forth. Now, the the dedicated SMTP servers or email servers, those are for people like you. Those are guys that have like 10,000 plus on their list, and they actively email them, say, at least 3 times a week or more. And those are people that really qualify for a dedicated server. And those are based, you have unlimited sending, you have unlimited subscribers. You can send this to as many as you like. The only thing that restricts you on those is the actual physical capabilities of the SMTP server. And that's a
Okay. And
complicated formula based on the number of IPs you have, because we issue you dedicated IPs in rotation. You'll have one public IP, which is the one that, will be the one that most people will see, or most mailbox providers will see. And then we give you what's known as failover IPs, and those range from anywhere from 4 on up. We've even I have clients that are really huge publishers. Okay, they're magazine publishers, and
right.
they have right now 8 servers with us, 8 of our high-end dedicated servers, and they have over 256 IPs in rotation.
Wow.
They send over 7 million emails a day. So
That's a lot of email.
they're super high volume guys. And what they have is, like I said, they have 8. Well, they have 5 that they are active, and they have 3 that are in reserve, because when you're that big and you're sending that much stuff, you're going to get complaints. You're going to get, uh,
And
blacklisted
that
and
makes
so forth. And so what we do is we keep servers and reserves that are warm for them, so that they can take one out. Like if it gets blacklisted, we'll get them delisted. And in the meantime, they plug this one into its place to take over, and so forth. Because like I said, they're huge publishers. If I said their name, most people on this call would know who they are. But
yeah.
I don't discuss my clients unless they give me permission to. So
Right. Right. Now your servers, they also meter the sending of mail, right? Only so many
no,
per.
no, we don't.
No.
The only ones that meter it are the SMTP relays. The relays are metered, but nothing else is. If you get a dedicated server, your only limitation is the physical capabilities of that server, which is
Okay.
the amount of RAM, the number of IPs, and your bandwidth. Those are the only 3 limitations on. And so that's why you'll see those are estimated limits when you go to the page. and you'll see those are estimated. Some people get much better throughput than even that. So, but we
Okay.
we we tend to be conservative. I'd rather tell you, you're not going to get as good as you think, and then you get it and you go, wow, this is much better. So I like to over deliver. I don't like to over promise. So
Yes,
I'm a
yes.
conservative guy. I say, hey, look, this is what we think you're going to get. This should be the minimum that you get, but you're probably going to do better. But I don't want to tell people absolutely you're going to do better, but you will
And
historically.
I've watched a number of companies who offer email services as a part of like a membership site or whatever. And I watched one talk about warming up their IPs first.
Correct.
So they're getting the IPs used to getting the ISPs used to receiving clean email from those servers. I take it. So and you offer older domains too.
We do. We actually, one of our sister companies is the .com Pros, and what they do is, well, what we do is we go through painstaking detail to find domains that have dropped that have history. They're all .coms. There's not even .nets or .orgs. They're all .coms. They're all high value domains, and they've all got good reputations and so forth. So that kind of gives you a leap ahead when
Okay.
you're because if you get like a brand new domain, and especially if it's a .biz or a .info or whatever, your delivery is not going to be that good. I can tell you that up
Okay.
front because those are known for being uh, hacker and spammers. So
Okay.
the mailbox providers, they have algorithms. Okay. It's not like some guy sitting around here, looking at a computer watching what's going on all day. These are all algorithms that are in place. So these are robots that are figuring out, are you a good sender or are you a bad sender? But you're right. You have to warm these IPs up because they have no history. And even if, because there's been people that have come to me and said, you mean to tell me that you can't warm up those IPs and I could just take over and start sending? I said, I could do that, but the difference is going to be is what I warm them up with and what you start sending are two different things. So that reputation that I develop for you up front will go right out the window the first couple of times you email. So there's no point in us warming them up for you because we don't know what kind of information you're going to send. We don't know what your engagement's going to be like or any of this other stuff. So if we go through the painstaking process of warming up, because this takes at least a month and it takes a lot of work and increasing it gradually and so forth to get it to the point to where your delivery is going to be good. So to do that takes a lot of effort. So we'd have to charge more to do that, obviously.
Okay.
And then
Makes sense.
and then on top of that, like I said, you could destroy it with just one email blast. So we just found because I did try that at one point because I did have a lot of people that were asking for that. They're like, well, I need to be able to send right away. I don't have time for a warm up and yada yada yada. And I'm like, okay, well, let me try that. And that's exactly what would happen is they'd send like 2 or 3 email blasts and ruin the reputation of the server. And so
Okay.
it was a pointless effort. It was a lot of work. And at that time, I did charge extra for it. And, it was just a lot of work for nothing. So I
And
learned the
you
hard
use
way.
the term drop domains. For the listeners, a drop domain is well, every day over 100,000 domains aren't renewed by the person that owns the domain for whatever reason, and
Hmm.
those domain names become available to the general public to purchase. And
Correct.
so, but you don't know the reputation of those domains. You don't know what the person was using it for, and you're saying you go through and
Correct.
painstakingly make sure that it doesn't have a bad reputation.
Exactly. We go back through like archive.org and so forth and check to make sure that they were never spammers, they were never scam sites or even gambling sites or porn sites or anything like this. We make sure that they're clean. We make sure that they're not blacklisted. And so that's why they're high value. I mean, sure, you can go register a domain with GoDaddy for $10,
Yeah.
but it's a brand new domain. These are established domains. Some of these domains are well over 20 years old. And, for whatever reasons, their owners let them drop. Maybe they passed away. Maybe they forgot about it. Who knows? But their loss is our gain. So that's what we do is we have algorithms that are designed to pick up on these types of domains when they drop. Then we have a team that goes through and actually visually checks to make sure these domains are solid. And then we get them evaluated and valued. None of the domains that we sell are valued under $500, but we let them go
Okay.
for 127. So And we think that's a fair price because of all that's involved in it. So,
Yes, it is a fair
and that
price.
includes transfer fees and everything.
Okay. Yeah, I buy and sell domains regularly, and I use a number of tools to determine the value of them, and yet the honest value of a domain name is what someone's willing to pay for it,
Exactly.
or what you're willing to get forego to hold on to it. So it's
Exactly.
but you mentioned something else. You mentioned looking at warm versus cold list. A warm list is somebody who knows you and everything. So a cold list is
Right.
just where someone purchased something.
Exactly. A cold
Could
list
it?
is like, for example, let's say you went to a lead broker or a list broker. You'll see people advertising all the time. You'll probably even get spam emails that say, million emails for $500 or something like this. Well, that's all well and good, but I'm gonna tell you right now, and I get people that do this all the time. They think, oh man, I'm gonna make a fortune. So I'm just going to buy this huge list, of a million emails, and I'm going to, get your service, and I'm going to just blast them out and all this. And they think that they're going to make $1 million. Well, here's the reality. Okay. You can do that. I mean, I'll let you do that. I won't stop you. But I will tell you that I would rather have a solid list of 500 people that know, like, and follow me and believe what I say versus a list of 100,000 people that don't know anything about me and have never heard from me before and just suddenly get an email dropped in on them today. Okay.
Yeah,
Because those 500 people out of that, I would say maybe 20% of those people are buyers. Whereas out of that 100,000, I have no idea who they are. They have no idea who I am. I'd be lucky if I get 20 people to buy. So that's the difference. And I see that all the time. I'm not going to drop any names, but I've dealt with some big email marketers that would be household names in the IM world.
yeah.
And
I grew up in an age. I mean, I've been in this for 26 years, and I've gone to like list builder workshops and things. And I remember my friend Joel Christopher talked about mailing co-reg leads. People who've
right.
opted in to receive information, but not specifically from you, just on a specific topic. He talked about several people sending death threats to him because he was mailing saying, I'm trying to help you out, but I understand, you want some information on making money online or whatever. And several
Mhm.
people said, we're going to come over and kill you.
Yeah.
But I have used those, but not in the past 10 years or so. There's nothing illegal about that. It's just
No,
a lot of um, autoresponder services or whatever will shut you down immediately for using them because it's
absolutely.
just going to get a lot of complaints.
Well, it
But let's talk
bounces. That's another thing. You see,
bounces. Yeah.
bounces, email bounces, or people that are no longer, it's either an illegitimate email address. Because let's face it, a lot of times people will use like to get a lead magnet. They'll use either a phony email or they'll use a temporary email.
Yeah,
And
throw
those
away.
things,
Yeah.
yeah, throwaway email. And then later on, they find out that those are garbage, because that's the majority of what you're going to get in most cases, unless you have a good product and a good service that people relate to. That's why I tell people all the time is you could buy these, leads, but or scrape them, but don't expect to get much out of them. It's really, it's like fishing in the bathtub. You're not probably going to catch much. So, but
Yeah,
good luck.
I've seen services that'll sell you a server with pre-composed emails, and drop in 100,000 leads or 500,000 emails, not leads. Say,
Mm-hmm.
expect you to warm them up first before you ship them over to your list, because you're going to only get a handful of people that respond to you, and that's a I've tried that. It's a complete waste of time and money. Very disappointing. Um, and there are, I guess, as long as you're following good email hygiene procedures and you're only emailing people who want to hear from you, you're okay. Now, one thing that always uh, concerned me was when I get bounces. When you get bounces, I guess there's hard bounces and there's soft bounces. Is that right?
Correct. Hard
The,
bounces are people that no longer have that email address or it doesn't exist anymore. For example, let's say it's a domain email address and that domain drops and nobody's picked it up. So those emails are going to bounce. Or, somebody just cancels whatever email addresses that they have or whatever, those bounce. Uh, if you don't have a service that's going to actually remove those bounces, because the bounces are going to happen. It
yeah.
happens to even the hottest email list you have, because people, just like I said, they die, they move, lose interest, whatever the case may be, and those emails go dormant. Well, that's where bounces occur. Now you have soft bounces, or like usually those are work email addresses. Like somebody is on vacation and their mailbox is full, or they have
Okay.
a free email account with somebody or whatever, and they have a very low quota rate and they haven't checked their emails. So you use it just to register stuff or whatever, and it gets full, and those are bounce.
Or it could be a temporary
Right.
problem too. I mean, yeah.
Sure, it could be. It could be just something going on, and so it's bouncing temporarily, but it's not a hard bounce yet. So hard
I
bounces.
asked that question because I always wonder when you should go in and delete your bounces.
Well, with our software and our services, the way we set it up is it automatically does it for you. So you get a
Okay.
bounce, it goes into what's known as a suppression list or a blacklist, and you'd never email it again. Now, if you know for a fact that that was a mistake, like it's a friend's email address or whatever, and they were tinkering around with their computer at the time or whatever, and they accidentally took their domain down or whatever, and you just happened to email them at that time and it bounced, and it came back as a hard bounce and they were removed. Well, you can go back in and you can take them out of the blacklist and put them back in as an active email subscriber, or you can petition us to do it. And we'll do it for you. But that's usually a rare situation. So usually
But
a hard bounce is there. It's either a fictitious email address or it's no longer a valid email address. That's why I tell people, usually if you have an old email list, you haven't emailed in a while or whatever, it's a good idea to put it through a verifier, an email verification service. It's a little bit of money, but it's not, it's better than bouncing them all the time, because if you start bouncing them, then your reputation suffers and your delivery suffers with it. So it's, in my opinion, it's good money spent to just check your list to make sure. And then you have what's known as spam traps. There's two different types. One spam trap is, it was legitimate, and this is the sneakiest ones, is that they used to be a legitimate email. But because you haven't maintained your list, because you see a lot of, especially email marketers, they like to brag about how big their lists are. Okay. And it's not the size of the list, it's how responsive your list is that really matters. But if they brag about, oh, I got 10,000 or I got 100,000 or I got 1 million people on my list, that sounds all wonderful and really great. But the problem is if they're not engaging with you, they're worthless. They're just taking up space. So
yeah, we often say that the money's in the list, but the money's really in the relationship with the people on the list.
exactly. And if you're not, yeah, if you don't have a good engagement with your list, it doesn't matter how big it is. You're not going to really make much money with it. So you're just wasting your time. And that's what I try to tell people all the time. Concentrate on the quality, develop a relationship with your audience. And once you do that, the money will follow.
You mentioned suppression lists. Do you build your software build a suppression list
Yes,
automatically?
it automatically does it. So if you get a complaint, it automatically goes into that, so you don't engage with them again. Same goes with bounces, hard bounces. Now, soft bounces, like I said, that could be anything. The software will automatically try up to 5 times to email that email address before it'll
Okay.
consider it a hard bounce. So, but some software, it just depends. That's how we do it, is we program it to do it after 5. Some people 3, some services once. So it just depends on the service. Because like I said, a lot of these major services are so paranoid about their sender reputation of their servers and their IPs that they're overcautious. That's why they'll just drop you. Matter of fact, I pick up clients all the time that'll tell me, "Oh, I was doing great with AWeber. I've been with them for years, and then just suddenly out of the blue, no notice, boom, I was gone." It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, that happens
And
a lot.
I know several autoresponder companies that they don't want people who send more than a certain volume of email. I mentioned, I was looking at my notes because I mentioned confusion, Infusionsoft. I mean,
Yes.
they basically don't really want somebody who's going to send emails every single day and just slam people with emails. That they prefer corporate client or whoever, somebody who's only going to send emails infrequently. I
Right.
understand that. Yeah.
Or
So
transactional emails for, like, registering software or taking a course or something like that, where it's a transactional type situation. They love those because you hardly get any complaints on those and you very rarely get any bounces. But it's marketers that they really don't want. And that's why people that are in the internet marketing space, especially, or digital marketing or multi-level marketing or anything like that, be on the lookout, because most of these big companies are not going to let you stay on their service for very long unless you have really excellent engagement with your audience. So that's,
And when I look at spam, some people would say it's unwanted email, but I look at companies, big major names, the
Mhm.
Walmarts and
Yeah,
big name brands that email me all the time, and I'm like, I'm not on their list. So they're hiring some other company to send those emails out.
right.
Usually it's I look at the from address or hover over certain links and can tell who it's from, and it's usually not from the big companies. So
No,
there's nothing wrong with marketing that way, I guess. You know,
well, it's not illegal to send. Uh, Here's where it gets confusing, and it is confusing. You can read the Can Spam Act for yourself to get, and it's readily available on the FTC's website. But essentially what it is you just need to make sure that your emails all have a physical address. Why, I don't really know. That doesn't make any sense anymore. But you have to have a legitimate physical address in every email, and you have to have a method to one click unsubscribe. Now, a lot
okay,
of
so
people
so
try to
someone using
hide.
a post office box that would not do for the address.
They'll let you slide on that, but you're
And okay,
supposed to have an actual physical address. But most post office boxes are physical. I mean, they're physically located at a post
yes,
office, which is, technically that's a physical address. Uh, you could also get those shared office spaces and stuff like that, so forth. But yeah, you're supposed to have a physical address listed on each email, as well as, like I said, a prominent, easy one-click unsubscribe link. Now, a lot of people don't, and you'll see a lot of times it'll be so teeny tiny, you need a magnifying glass to find the unsubscribe link buried in all the
what
the
really irritates me is when I click on a link and it sends me to some site to fill in a form,
right,
verifying the email address I want to unsubscribe from, or
right.
unsubscribe from the list, and then it feels like they're trying to verify the email that they have on their list is good rather than just taking you off the list.
Well, there's a
That's
lot of shady stuff that goes on. What happens in that case, because I see a lot of this, is it'll be some big unscrupulous marketing group, and what they do is they collect those emails, and then they send them from a different server and from different groups. So yes, technically you just unsubscribed from that list or that server, but they've got 10 other ones right there, and now they know that that's a valid email address, so you get put on a different list on a different server.
Yeah, and another word of caution for people who would be tempted to buy lists is you have to realize that list brokers often sell the same list to dozens, if not hundreds of people, up even
Exactly.
thousands. Yeah.
Yeah, there's no exclusive anymore. I mean, I know list brokers. I even have a very close friend that is in the lead business, and I've even asked him. I'm like, Jim, how many times are these leads, sold? He says, well, it depends. He says the more expensive they are, usually the less they're sold. He says, so if you're getting them for like, $10 for 10,000 leads or something, he says you best believe that they've got more traffic than the interstate. So
Yeah. And I've worked with people who teach or provide software for lead generation, and some of them teach, say you're looking for you fill out a form looking for an exterminator or fence or somebody to build a fence, whatever. They may form that lead out to by phone to 20 different businesses, and actually encouraging the customer to shop around and compare prices, which is a good thing. But it's whoever all of those people get the same lead. It's whoever gets the business
right,
is usually the fastest one. So to me, that's I don't know. It's sort of shady because they think they're getting the only one getting that lead, and they can take their time getting back to the customer, but the customer's shopping around.
right.
Um,
Yeah, you see that in insurance a lot, especially car insurance. So if you see like some of those car commercials where they're like, "Oh yeah, we have the best rates and all this other stuff," that's what usually happens. Is you fill out this long form where they take you through this process, and then when it gets down to the bottom, you give them your information, your phone number, your email address, and whatnot. And as soon as you hit send, your phone starts ringing, and you start getting notifications that you're receiving emails, and it's because they've sold it to these people, and they're they're like hungry rabid dogs sitting on the other side of the fence waiting for that steak to drop, and you're the
Yeah, yeah,
steak.
yeah. Um, I've gone over most of my questions. I take it that I need probably the full service autoresponder because I'm dropping probably dropping AWeber, even though I have had absolutely no complaints about them until they started limiting my number of sends. I was very pleased with their deliverability and a lot of other things for a long time, for about 15 years. But when I saw how much it's going to cost me to, and not only it's just not just the cost, it's the fact that they won't let me send as many emails as I want.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
here's what I usually tell people to do. If you already have a list and you already have a service that you're using, but you want to jump ship, what I recommend is get a system, get whatever is the appropriate one from us and build your sending reputation on it with your most engaged audience first, and then gradually get rid of AWeber or what get response or whatever, or in some cases just keep a smaller version of the account. So let's say you have 10,000 subscribers on your AWeber list and you move to one of our servers. Then what you might want to do is, I mean, of course, you still want to be able to email with either service just in case there's a problem. I mean, stuff happens. I mean, servers drop offline for some reason or another all the time. That happens. I remember a few years ago, AWeber was down for over 2 weeks.
Yeah,
So,
I think
you
I
know,
remember that too.
you could, you stuff happens, like I said. So you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket. It's always a good idea to have a backup plan, no matter whose service you're using. Even I do. And I mean, I have my own service and I have my own servers, but I have multiple servers because I know that if I put all my eggs in one server and it goes down, well, I'm not making any money off of that list until it's back up
And,
again.
that brings up the question of list backups. Do you teach you recommend that people download their entire database and okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Keep that's your, I tell people all the time, you don't own social media. So you don't own Facebook, you don't own Instagram, you don't own TikTok or any of this other stuff. They could drop you tomorrow and there's nothing you can do about it except cry.
Yeah.
Whereas an email is your asset. That's something that you work for, that you got, and it's yours. So by all means, back up your list constantly because you never know. Because like I said, some of these services, they're really paranoid now, and they're getting more and more paranoid. And you're seeing it not just with AWeber, but with a lot of them. They're all moving to that because AWeber is kind of like the Gmail. If Google does something first and everybody else follows in lockstep behind them, well, it's kind of like that with AWeber. When AWeber does something, you'll start seeing, some of the other services doing the same things. And I'm already seeing that with a lot of the other services. They're emulating because Google, I think, is what they're doing is they're only allowing you to do 10 times whatever your list is. So if you have
Right.
10,000, you can only send 10 times to 10,000 people. So that may be great for some people, especially like if you're, like you said, a corporate type of entity or whatever, or, something of that nature. But if you're, actively marketing, like you have a e-commerce business or whatever, and you're having a sale this week, or you're doing this, or you have some special offer or whatever, and you're sending emails constantly, then they're not going to be a good fit for you because they're just going to say, "Hey, wait, you're limited to 10 cents a month. If you send over that, then you're going to pay extra for that." So,
And that instantly politicians pop in my head because they don't even pay for physical meals. So, they just email the heck out of you. And, I,
oh, I know.
I have I'm in a particular party, but I get emailed by the public Republicans and the Democrats and
Same
the
here.
independents. Yeah.
Same here.
And they're like, we got to do this, we. And it's like, well, I'm not we.
Yeah,
I'm a
exactly.
registered independent, actually.
Same here. And it's the same thing with SMS. A lot of people think that, oh boy, text messages is the way to go, and that's great. But you want to get people PO'd at you fast instead of a text message they don't want more than once and see what happens.
I spend a lot of time typing stop. And
Me too.
yeah, yeah. So why don't we talk about well, I don't know. I covered a lot of things. I want to send people will listen to this who want to know more about the service over to smtpdepot.com/Willie C, and make the W and Willie capitalized. So it's
Correct.
WillieC.html. The reason I'm spelling that out is because this is a podcast that'll go out on a lot of video platforms, but I also send it out over about 50 audio only platforms. And so,
Right.
somebody driving their car want to be able to jot it down or whatever, or somebody out jogging or riding their bicycle in the gym or whatever. So it's smtpdepot.com/Willie, that's capital WILLIEC.html. And where I posted and they allow descriptions, I will write that in the description too. So we'll get the message out to the world because I know a lot of people are very frustrated. Spend all this time building up an email list of people who are actually interested in what you're selling, and then you can't get through a lot of times. It's just
Right. Well, see, that's the thing I tell people all the time, and I used to tell them this before I actually started SMTP Depot, is that yes, the money is in the list, and they make it sound like it's just so doggone easy. Everybody just wants to be on your list, and you're going to email them, and you're going to make a fortune, and all this other stuff. When nothing could be further from the truth. It's extremely difficult to get the right email address from somebody, engage with them, and provide them with, because a lot of people that make the mistake of thinking that the more offers you send, the more money you're making. And that's not the truth. The truth is that if you provide value up front, people will reward you by buying from you because they'll know, like, and trust you. But if all you send them is offers, they're going to be unsubscribing from your list as fast as you could say Jack Robin. So
yeah. When I first started in email marketing 20 some years ago, the role that we was taught was give, give, then take. We sent out just informational emails. Maybe one out of every 3 to 5 emails was an offer, and today it's every email is an offer.
exactly.
So, people are bombarded by that. Something else that crossed my mind that went away as soon as it crossed my mind. But yeah, it's about sending the right offer to. Oh, now I know. You also need to time your sendings. You want to send when your subscribers are most likely to be online. I've noticed that when I send an email out at the right time of the day, within 5 minutes, I'm going to get the majority of my responses. It's those people are at their computer, maybe on their lunch break or while watching TV in the evening or something like that, and they respond right away. And then maybe over the next few hours, stuff trickles in. So it's timing. So I wonder if your services, any of them, offer statistics, tracking on
Oh,
opens
absolutely.
and
We give you
okay,
the full statistics on everything. Not only the statistics, but actually even tell you down to the email address of who clicked, who opened, who engaged with your content, or who even unsubscribed or complained. So
okay, okay.
you'll know with absolute certainty who did what to who.
Okay, and I know the majority of my subscribers are from the US, which is a good thing actually. Or it's good if they're from tier one countries, places where people have money to spend because I'm, selling things a lot of time. And there are other places where people are trying to figure out a way to get over on you because they look at
Hmm.
me as an American, for example, and go, "You guys are rich, so why shouldn't we take what you have, from us, from you?"
Exactly. You see that a
So
lot too.
yeah, so the statistics are important, and I want to know open rates. I want to know click-through rates. So we can send both HTML and plain text, of course.
Correct.
Um, how do you feel about people sending a lot of images in their emails?
That's really twofold is I keep images down to one, maybe two per email. And the reason why is one, it slows everything down. It takes a longer time for your recipient in some cases because you might be on high speed broadband, but somebody else might still be on something that's slower than dial up. So if
Yeah.
they're waiting for an image to load, they'll get frustrated and just say, "Oh, the heck with it," and delete your email. So you want to be judicious, use quality images, but at whatever the lowest possible resolution for it to be
Okay.
quality.
So
Also, don't overdo it. Like I said, two, maybe three, if that. Uh, I find that most people respond better. Because what I tell people to do is really what an email is designed to do is get the click.
Right.
So my objective to people is, okay, you have something that's going to catch their eye as far as the subject line. Then you're going to have something that's, that you intrigue them enough in the content of the email. You don't want a mile long email with a whole bunch of images and all this other stuff in it because nobody has time for that anymore. Everybody's busy.
Right.
So you want to get to the punchline. You want to get, either stir curiosity or excitement and have that link there so that they can click on it. And then you can have all the images you want on the sales page or blog page or whatever the heck it is that you're sending them to. And that's what I tell people is the whole objective of email should be to, one, get the open, two, get the click. That's it. That's what it should do.
And when you talk about getting the open, I very often look at the from field first, and
correct.
if I can't figure out who it's from, very often I'll just delete the email, and
Same here.
Yeah.
There's so
And
many
yet,
scams now, there's so many
yeah,
scams and so many people out there that even imitate other people. So you got to really be certain of who you're dealing with because there's a lot of fraud out there now.
and
I've
there are a
seen
lot
it.
of people using systems like GoToWebinar who will uh, that they'll get your email address and they'll subscribe you to like a whole
All their
series
stuff.
of
I see
messages.
that every day, especially with Zoom lately. Zoom is the one that's even
Wow.
worse than GoToWebinar. I mean, I'll get slammed on GoToWebinar, but not as much as I do on Zoom now. Everybody signs me up for Zoom. I have Zoom appointments out that because I use Zoom in my business. So when I see a Zoom appointment, I'm like, oh, did somebody, because if you go to my website, you'll see that I have, book a call. So I'll
Yeah.
think, oh, is somebody booking a call? And then I have to look at it, which takes time away from me doing what something else I should be doing because now I got to ferret out, is this a legitimate Zoom call or is this just somebody slamming me to, go to their Zoom call,
Yeah, and when you trick people, you've put them in a very bad mood in the first place. So, if
Right.
I open an email and something sounds enticing, like maybe they're inviting you to a webinar, but you didn't sign up for it,
Right.
instantly they've left a bad taste in my mouth, and I'm not
Same
going to
here.
buy from them. Uh, if
That's a
anything,
bad
if I really
technique.
want, yeah,
Whoever's teaching that should be kicked in the rear end. That's really a
yeah, I
bad
know,
technique.
yeah, but people are doing that.
I know.
And back in the day, people used to subscribe to your email list so that when you sent them an email, they responded by making a counter offer to you.
You're right.
Thanks for your email. Sign up for my MLM. Not to have anything against MLMs. I'm in several, but you don't subscribe to somebody's list just so you can set up an autoresponder that sends
Right.
back an email saying thanks for your email. Check this out. Somebody's
Right.
teaching that still.
Yeah, it is. I see that a lot too.
It's an autoresponder subscribing to an autoresponder.
Right.
Uh, yeah. Well, I've covered most of what I wanted to cover. I want people to who feel this who needs a solution. I know a lot of people do because in my private Facebook group, for example, actually several private Facebook groups I have, we talk about things like where's the best place to send email, and we talk about good email practices and things like that. So I will, actually, I will post this in several of my groups, and I'll get it out all over. But this is good information for people to know. Your prices are extremely reasonable. I was surprised at how low they are for what you're getting. And when you look at the quality of the IPs that you're sending from, that makes a huge difference too. And now that you're telling me that you maintain suppression lists and all those things, and remove hard bounces. There are autoresponder services that don't remove hard
Right.
bounces. Actually, there's one that doesn't remove unsubscribes. They leave you're allowed so many subscribers in your database based on at a certain
Hmm.
price. And when somebody unsubscribes, they don't take them out of the database. They just take them out from whatever list they're on. So you still are using up your space in the database,
That's
unless
pretty
you go in
shady if
and
you ask me.
physically remove them yourself, unsubscribe.
That's pretty
So
shady. That's yeah, they'd never do
yeah.
that.
So any closing thoughts though?
Just I'm always available. I try to make myself available. So any of your audience that wants to ask me any questions or whatever, hit me up. I'm you'll see that if you go to the main website, that there's a, call button. You can schedule a Zoom call with me anytime, and we'll
And you've
answer all
got
your questions.
the form they can fill in too, right?
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah,
Contact form in every other way that you can imagine. So appreciate your time, Willie. Thank you so much.
sure. You can look forward to having me as a customer because
Appreciate it.
I've looked
Thank you.
around, and not only that, I trust fellow vets because
Exactly.
I say to people all the time, I spent all my life as a soldier, risking my life for you for 20 years. So why would I turn around and rip you off when I put myself on the line? And I look at you as a paramedic and all those things. You were putting your life on the line. And
Exactly.
you're a police officer too, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So I've got relatives that are in the local sheriff department, and they're, you know, in Florida, we have a law that allows anyone that's not a felon to conceal carry. So when they stop people here, they expect them to be carrying.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
So
that's our constitutional right under the Second Amendment. So anybody that restricts your ability to carry is illegal. It really is. It's unconstitutional. So, but I don't want to get into that argument. But
yeah, I
you
know,
know,
I know.
but yeah, I always tell people, I'd rather be tried by 12 than carried by 6. So
Yeah, but my point though was that you're one of those people that puts service to others before self a lot of times.
absolutely,
I mean,
always
we
have.
yeah. So thanks again for joining me, and let's send some business over your way.
So it's good, Willie. Thank you so much for your time today, sir.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
I'll talk to you later.